Story 1. For answering a question. I wonder what plant canola is made from? Me, rapeseed. Another girl lost her temper at me for making a sexual assault joke, saying it was inappropriate and unfunny. I had to search and show her that I was not making any sexual assault-related jokes and that I never would. Story 2. My very best friend at the time got mad that I did not greet her with "Hello, how are you?" or something similar when I was messaging her about my mother passing away. We are not friends anymore. Story 3. One time in college, a guy got mad at me for eating a banana the wrong way. I peeled it from the bottom instead of the stem. He stared at me like I had just kicked his dog. He said, "Bro, what are you doing? That is not how humans eat bananas." I thought he was joking, but he was not. He looked genuinely offended. I had to defend my banana technique like I was on trial. Wild times. Story 4. I'm a 64-year-old Black Londoner, and back in the day, certain types would hang out of their car windows yelling the N-word. I could understand if they knew me personally and objected to something I might have done, but not because of the extra melanin in my skin. Story 5. My father once got mad at me for crying too loudly after he had yelled at me and made me cry. Then he yelled again. Story 6. I work in retail at a department store. One night, a customer came to the service desk saying he was there to collect a washing machine, which we do not sell. He was confused and annoyed when I told him we could not provide it. He then acted out charades as if the problem was that I did not understand, rather than the fact that we do not sell washing machines. After about 20 minutes, he called someone who spoke better English. I explained to her that he wanted a washing machine, but we do not sell them. She said she knew and went back to explaining this to him in their language, with a tone indicating this was not a new experience for her. After she informed him, he said, "Oh," and then walked off. Another customer asked where the grill section was. We do not have one. He became annoyed because he had just searched for grills online and assumed that since we sell a variety of items, we would also sell grills. He said someone had told him to come to the service desk to ask, but when I asked who told him that, he said no one had. He grew more frustrated when I could not produce a grill for him and his basic search had not given him the results he wanted. Story 7. My wife was angry at me for 2 days because I did not feel obligated to apologize in real life for something insensitive that I said in a dream she had. Mind you, it was a dream. I did not actually do anything. Story 8. My daughter hasn't spoken to me since February because I helped her brother get a truck instead of letting her mother buy him a poorly maintained car with 380,000 miles. Her reasoning was that he doesn't need his first car to be a truck. The dumbest thing I've ever heard. She didn't even send a text on Father's Day. I asked her mother if there was more to it that I'm just not aware of, and she said no. It's all because my daughter is upset that her brother was able to graduate a year early and start working while she had to go to college. That was something she wanted to do and he did not. She got scholarships for soccer, while he struggled to sit in the classroom all day. She took her path, he took his, and I'm the one at fault for making sure he had what he needed. He works on a farm and needs a truck that's reliable. I got him a 2017 Ford F-150 with 120,000 miles for $7,000. She's on her third car now. Story 9. My mother once shouted at me for putting a glass and a bottle of water on the table. I was already holding those small plates that prevent your glass from leaving watermarks on the table. I forgot the name of them. Story 10. I work in public-facing jobs. I have been blamed for the weather. I once had someone threaten to stab me because I asked them not to smoke under an awning on a sunny day due to city bylaws and my workplace rules. I also had people threaten to attack me because I explained they couldn't leave with open alcohol, which could get my work fined and me fired. Honestly, people only get mad at me for dumb reasons. Story 11. I had green hair, and a woman acted as if I had killed and eaten her mother in front of her. She went on a tirade at me while I was just minding my own business, deciding what kind of cereal I wanted. Story 12. I have a t-shirt with a picture of a skunk and the caption, "Fart Squirrel." Most people think it is funny, and I usually get a few positive comments when I wear it. However, occasionally someone is offended by it and lets me know. Story 13. I occasionally get asked by people, usually women or elderly, to help them get tall things off shelves or pick up heavy items to load into their carts. There was a younger woman at Home Depot who asked if I could grab a heavy flower pot off a high shelf for her, which turned out to be much heavier than expected, but everything was fine. Afterwards, I received a lecture about my male privilege and why she deliberately chose not to thank me for the effort because of it. It was a very strange interaction. It took me a minute after walking back to my car to realize that she was legitimately upset about something I had no control over and just used to her advantage. Story 14. A girl I went to high school with, whom I did not know and had never spoken to, did not like me for about 2 years because I used words that were too big when I spoke. Story 15. A friend posted some pictures on Facebook after a weekend barbecue party we all attended together. I commented on a picture of his wife saying, "This one really captures her essence." That was all I said. There was nothing weird about it. It was just a picture of her flipping him off and laughing about it. It was funny and did represent her character. The problem was he did not know what the word essence meant. He immediately got upset and angry because he thought it was a sexual comment. Story 16. I was going into a Burger King one day, and the man coming the other way held the door. I said, "Thank you. You are a gentleman as well as a scholar." The man followed me in, yelling and wanting to start a fight. Story 17. My former supervisor became upset with me for not arranging the tables in a specific orientation. However, the tables were not going to be used for at least another 2 months. Story 18. My uncle was upset that none of his brothers or sisters called him to wish him a Merry Christmas, even though no one had ever done so in the previous 20 years when they saw each other for lunch. He simply decided that they should have done it that year. Story 19. One of the biggest fights I had with my ex, and I'm embarrassed to admit I was involved with him, was because one night when we went to bed, as I was falling asleep in his arms, he suddenly became very angry that I had not said good night to him. It was completely out of the blue. We did not have a good night ritual or even say it regularly. He was the only boyfriend I ever had who was certifiably crazier than I am. Story 20. Recently, a friend of mine got mad at me because of a situation that went from good to confusingly bad. Basically, he thought our mutual friend blocked his new love interest, and I said to both of them, "I'll ask." I wasn't stopped or told no. So I asked, and our mutual friend said she didn't. Pretty simple, right? Well, my friend threw out a wild accusation accusing me of targeting him and his new love interest and turning it into an unnecessary big scene. I tried to calm him down and explain that all I did was ask for them and that I wasn't targeting anyone. But before I could, he told me not to talk to him and left. So I did exactly that. The next time he appeared, I didn't say hi or anything to him. I did this because this isn't the first time he's done something like this. It's not even the third, fourth, or fifth, and I'm pretty much done with his behavior. I understand that it's a mix of whatever is going on with him in his life plus overstimulation, and the way he feels is valid, but taking it out on me is not valid. Story 21. I was talking about having the hiccups and what I did to get rid of them. I would put water in my mouth, plug my ears, and swallow. I swear it works. I still use it to this day. My dad's wife said to me, "That doesn't work." I replied, "Well, it works for me." Apparently, I took an attitude with her at the age of about 9, and I had therefore committed a federal crime. She hid in her room like a child until I apologized. This was a pattern that happened every time I saw them, and I haven't seen them in about a decade now. I hope she gets the hiccups at an important event. Story 22. Mom got mad at me because I would not share some of my pancakes. She already had her breakfast. I just wanted to eat mine in peace. Story 23. My mother was upset with me because I had been in bed for 2 weeks and had not completed my share of the chores. I had undergone surgery on my uterus. Story 24. I ate the plums in the refrigerator which my wife was saving for breakfast. They were so sweet and cold. Story 25. Got scolded on my birthday for breaking an already falling apart carpet cleaner. It was 8 years old and was already breaking down. I understand how expensive it is, but still. Story 26. Not putting another trash bag in the can after I took the trash out. I was changing my shirt after garbage juice leaked through the entire front of my clothes, and it was visibly noticeable when I walked in. Story 27. I used to call out prescriptions to pharmacies. Normally, I would leave a message. A client picked up her medication at the pharmacy and then called me furious because the person who processed her payment mispronounced her last name. She decided that it was my fault, that I must have said her last name incorrectly, and accused me of being racist. I just hung up on her. Story 28. My ex once got mad that I was spending time setting up my fish tank. He was so upset about it that he would refuse to listen to anything I said about my fish and even snapped at me, telling me to stop talking. He literally got so mad when I talked about my fish. Looking back, it's kind of funny. He also got very angry if I didn't sit and watch his wrestling shows. If I even checked my phone, he would say things like, "You don't love me. Why can't you pay attention to what I like?" He had some serious issues. Story 29. On multiple occasions, I have had people get angry at me for not letting them cut in line. I cannot even fathom that level of nerve. Story 30. When I was in middle school, my mom grounded me because I threw away her McDonald's cup. I didn't know she still wanted it, and I even offered mine to replace it, but she refused. She enforced my punishment completely. It did not really matter because I was never allowed to leave my room anyway. She died about 2 years later, and I still do not miss her. Story 31. I was minding my own business in the phone store when an angry woman accused me of being a spy. Story 32. I was an adult leader for my former church's teen girls program. My brother and his family attended the same church. For a weekday activity in the fall, we took the girls, including my niece, to rake leaves at a woman's house. This kind woman was a single mother who had health problems and a 12-year-old son. They had a large amount of leaves to rake, and our group completed the job in about an hour. The girls had fun and said they enjoyed helping her. After I got home, I received a harsh text from my sister-in-law criticizing me for taking her daughter to help someone who, in her opinion, did not deserve the help. Story 33. I got my son's name tattooed on my chest, above my heart. A couple of weeks later, a girl I went to school with got a tattoo that said, "Love," on her chest above her heart as well. She made a huge social media post about me, tagged me, and completely lost her mind, saying that I copied her. Mind you, I already had 5 tattoos by then. Story 34. When I worked at International Business Machines Corporation 25 years ago, a coworker complained to my manager that I was too tall. The manager then scheduled a meeting with me to discuss my height. We spent that half hour discussing how unreasonable the other person was and how my manager's hands were tied. No matter how unfounded the complaint, he had to waste his time and mine on informing me about it. Story 35. I was playing a 3-point basketball shooting game at a carnival. There was a bright light behind the backboard. Everybody was missing shots, and I made a comment to everyone standing around. "It's because of the background." A black man took that as racist and got in my face a bit. He thought I meant it as genealogy. Story 36. The girl I was dating got mad because the pizza I brought her as a surprise, which was her favorite kind with my last $15, was cut into slices and not squares like she likes. We broke up shortly after that. Story 37. I was in high school and had just returned from hanging out with my friends. I was in the bathroom when I heard my mother call for help bringing the sauce from the downstairs refrigerator upstairs. I called out that I was in the bathroom and would be out in 5 minutes. I then heard a groan followed by, "Fine, I'll do it myself." A minute or two later, I heard a crash. When I left the bathroom, there was sauce all over the kitchen floor. My mother, angry about what happened, looked at me and said, "If you took a bathroom break at a normal time like a normal person, this wouldn't have happened." We still laugh about this to this day. Story 38. Someone got mad at me for having a beard. I was just sitting on a bus when a man walked up, grabbed my goatee, and started angrily complaining about it. I resisted the urge to respond and ignored him until he gave up. He eventually got off the bus as it started moving again. Story 39. My trainer got angry because I did not delete blank lines in my report booklet on certain days, with a maximum of 1 or 2. Story 40. They were embarrassing me in front of a woman I had a crush on, and I said, "I hate you." Next, I became the bad person. They decided to stop talking to me and spread false and harmful rumors about me to encourage others to do the same. Story 41. When I was 9 years old, my mother put new bedding on my bed, and in the morning she saw that the dog had stained the pillowcase. She got angry and threw me against the wall, then grabbed me by the neck and lifted me up the wall. As she was choking me, she said through clenched teeth, "It would be better if you died." Story 42. Also, one time a man who was not all there got mad at me for not going first on the bus when he was closer to the bus entrance. I told him it was okay because he was closer and he should go ahead. I was trying to do a good deed, but all of a sudden he shouted loudly, "Go!" I told him to calm down. He probably did not even have his bus fare. Story 43. My husband refused to stop filming at an airport where signs clearly stated that filming was not allowed. I was pregnant but not yet married, and we were trying to leave the country earlier than planned to avoid me being detained. This is the one argument he still does not admit he was wrong about. Story 44. I was criticized in the gaming community because I said I prefer male lead characters in games. Story 45. We are assigned chores in my house. I take care of our pets, and my sister does the dishes. One day, a couple of years ago, after she had done them, my stepdad later found a bowl in the sink and called my sister and me out to question us. He assumed it was me. It was not even my bowl, but he did not seem to care. He lectured me for an hour and a half. During the lecture, he asked me how I would feel if I had done the dishes and someone later put a bowl in the sink. I had known him for a couple of years at that point, so I knew that everything he said had a catch. So I asked him if he wanted to know how I alone would feel. He said yes. I said I would not care because it was one dish, and it was not like it would kill me to do the chore that he assigned me to do. He absolutely lost control, grounded me, and made me do everyone's chores for almost a month. He has done this type of stuff a lot, but this one really stuck with me because of how petty he was. Not that he has never been petty before. Story 46. I worked at Macy's. I asked a woman if I could help her. She looked confused, then screamed at me for a long time and said I racially profiled her. She called the manager as well. Story 47. I was going to a meeting in an organization in another city. I was a representative from a local branch and was meeting with the central board. I shared a motel room with a board member and asked him if he was okay with me coming home late and intoxicated because I was going out with a friend I barely see. He was 17 and I was 19. He said it was fine. The next day, we made our way to the meeting. Of course, I was a little roughed up, but I knew what was coming. Apparently, the vice president of the board heard about it and reprimanded me in a storage room for being older than him and using my position in the social hierarchy to pressure something that my minor roommate was not actually okay with. Keep in mind that my roommate was my senior in this vague hierarchy. I was also told off for drinking with my friend in the evenings after the meetings. The president of the board was in the background of this storage room, looking into his hands. I remember being distracted by how much more embarrassed he was than I probably should have been. It was clear he was only there because the vice president convinced him that the administration had to be united in this disciplinary enforcement. I told the vice president that a 17-year-old guy I am only on friendly terms with can speak for himself, and that the organization cannot control what I do in my free time as long as I take the necessary precautions. I spoke with my roommate and the president later in an apologetic tone, and it was clear to me that they did not see the issue as long as I did not break any rules or trust barriers, which I did not. Story 48. My ex-boyfriend got really angry at me because I said that Michael Jackson sings in the song Somebody's Watching Me by Rockwell, and he refused to believe it. He was absolutely enraged at me. Story 49. My ex got very upset at me for pushing her to go to the gym on gym day when she did not want to go, even though she had told me she needed to get healthier and wanted me to encourage her to go to the gym if it was gym day and she did not want to go. Story 50. I found a pack of bird seed in my car. I thought it would be a waste to just throw it away, so I put it somewhere the birds and animals could get to it. I poured it onto the grass next to the house, and some got on the driveway. A normal person would probably say, "Oh, cool. That makes sense. My ex-husband?" No, he was not having it. The first thing he said was, "What is wrong with you?" He took photos and said it showed my inability to be disciplined. I asked him what he meant by that. He told me I should have gone out, bought a bird feeder, and hung it properly. I had just pulled into the driveway after work, and he, who was home all day, was already picking a fight. Later that night, I heard him in his man cave giving his sister an earful about the birdseed situation. I told him to stop talking badly about his wife to his family. That fight lasted 3 days. On at least one of those days, I slept in my car because he was so difficult about the whole ordeal. I hope he has obsessive-compulsive disorder and isn't just being obsessed with made-up problems. Story 51. The principal of my middle school storms onto the bus, points me out, and starts yelling at me for throwing a pencil out the window. I did not. I was making a peace sign, and someone several seats back threw it. Everyone, surprisingly since I was very introverted, jumped to defend me, saying I didn't do it. The person who actually threw it admitted to doing it. The principal said, "Don't do that again," and walked off without a single apology. Poor school with more problematic adults in charge than not. Story 52. I had a good story. I had a 3 or 4 year best friendship end over an edible. That didn't even work on me. I had a friend, JM, who moved in with a platonic guy friend, JK. JM had an ex who smoked cannabis, was toxic, and at the end of their relationship, JM swore off cannabis permanently. She'd never tried it but said it wasn't for her. I asked her once while drunk if she wanted to smoke with me, and she shut it down so hard that I promised I'd never ask again. JK is a regular cannabis user. Always has been. JM knew this when they moved in together. I became a user while in college, and when they moved in together, I became friends with JK. JK asked if I wanted to try an edible with him sometime, so I asked JM, "Hey, is it cool if JK and I have an edible at your apartment? We'll all hang together, you could drink, feel free to say no." She said, "Yeah, sure. I don't care, I just don't want one." Day comes. I ask again, "Hey, is this cool?" "Yes, it's fine." We prepare the edible peanut butter sandwiches and eat it. We all decide to watch a movie in the living room. 30 minutes go by. JK is starting to feel it. I'm still waiting. JM gets up and goes to her room. I, being anxious, follow her. I ask, "Hey, are you okay?" She tells me, "Yes, just wanted to lie down." I say, "Okay, cool. Love you." She replies, "Love you too." We go back to the living room. 10 minutes pass. My phone dings. It's a message, an essay from a mutual guy friend, C. Backstory on C. JM introduced me to C about a year ago at a fire. I told her after the fact I thought C was cute. She was like, "Ew, no, he isn't." So when C asked me on a date, I went for it, only to be told while on the date that JM and C used to hook up, and it didn't go anywhere. JM was pissed I went on the date. I was like, "My bad. I'll call it quits. I'm not trying to end a friendship over some dude." Now C, who I haven't talked to in a year, sent me an essay on Facebook Messenger. Literally an essay. It took 2.5 full screen lengths to scroll through. I'm a disgusting drug addict. Don't I know to keep my habits to myself? How dare I pressure poor JM when I know her past? What is wrong with me? I'm a horrible person. Just going off. Reminder, this is cannabis. Not heroin. Not cocaine. Just cannabis. I am not high. After 6 or 7 times trying an edible, I am now convinced I'm immune to them. So I sober, walk into her room, show her my phone, and say, "What is this? Why wouldn't you tell me you weren't comfortable?" She gets up and tries to storm out, but I'm in the doorway. I say, "You can't leave. We have to talk about this." She tells me she is having a panic attack and can't talk about this. She needs to leave. She pushes past me and leaves the apartment. I go back to JK, who is very high by this point, equally confused, and show him the message. JM refused to come back to the apartment until the 3 of us agreed to let the topic go. She came back to the apartment and shut herself in her bedroom without a word. We never spoke again. She moved out about 6 months later. JK and I are still best friends and have been for about 6 years now. Story 53. I was called into a disciplinary meeting with a deputy director because my supervisor, who disliked me and wanted to hire someone else for the job but was overruled, told him that when I arrived at work in the mornings, I never said good morning. First, he always arrived late to work, so I was never after him. Second, he had his own office in the corner, so I would have had to walk past my desk in the common workspace to enter his office, which no one else did. This happened about 10 years ago when I was quite young. I now realize that the deputy director knew the supervisor was wrong but preferred to facilitate his bullying rather than confront him. I hated that job for many reasons. Story 54. A customer was telling me about an application she uses to scan her receipt and earn points. She insisted that I must have seen the commercial at some point. I told her that I really do not watch much television and that I mostly read. She still insisted that I absolutely had to have seen the commercial. I told her that my books do not have commercials. She was not amused. Story 55. A girl at work asked, "Would you fancy so-and-so?" I replied, "I'm not a lesbian, but no, she's not really my type. I don't have much patience for women in my life, even though I can appreciate their qualities." They told her, and she got aggressively angry at me at work, and I burst into tears. I wrote her a 2-page apology, as only I know how. I left the job shortly after and didn't really talk to her again. I'm not really someone you fancy. Long brown hair, sparkling green eyes, and overweight for most of my life. So the fact she got so upset is insane to me. My boyfriend is 5'10" compared to my 5 foot, with the body of a fisherman, a fluffy lion beard, and sparkling blue eyes, about as far removed from this girl in appearance as possible. Story 56. How I spoke was not about what I said or how it was said, but my accent as I said it. I have a mix of Pennsylvania Dutch, deaf, and Canadian accents. This person took my way of speaking as a personal offense. Story 57. I was at a party with my relatively new boyfriend. There were lots of people. I was chatting with someone and I mentioned the shop Marks and Spencer and I said, M&S, like many people do. A bit later, my boyfriend took me aside and whispered that I had really offended this woman by saying M&S, and I had no idea why. He explained that she had multiple sclerosis and that she felt I was making some sort of passive dig at her. I did not even know she had multiple sclerosis. She proceeded to ignore me for the rest of the evening. Whatever. Story 58. I was renting a room from a friend of a friend whose mother had bought a house for her to live in. It was a bit of a fixer-upper, so I guess the mother had asked the friend of a friend to go into each room to measure for installing radiators. When she got to my door, it was locked. What had happened was that I got out of the shower, went into my room, and locked the door so no one would walk in on me. What I didn't realize was that you could still turn the knob from the inside, but it didn't unlock the door, so when I shut the door when I left, it was locked. I came home to a note on my door that said, "Please don't lock the door when you're gone. It's a fire hazard." I had no idea what she meant because I had no idea the door was locked. I messed with it a little, realized that it could be opened from the inside even if it was locked, then went to tell the friend of a friend. I explained it was an accident and how it happened and that I would try not to do it again because I was not going to leave my door unlocked after a shower. She complained that she couldn't unlock the door, so she had to climb out the bathroom window. Luckily, one of my windows was partially open, but she damaged the screen getting in. It was a big hassle just because I was inconsiderate. Plus, it was a fire hazard, so I shouldn't have locked it anyway and should never do that again. I said, "I didn't do it on purpose this time. So, do you want me to never do something by accident again?" She said, "Yes." Like I was an idiot. Story 59. There is always just one instance that comes to mind. I used to bring my ex to her work before she had a driver's license. It was just something I did to be with her whenever I could. If I was at work or busy, she would have to ride her bicycle to work for 15 minutes, just like she used to do before she met me. One day my car would not start. It was completely dead. When I called her to let her know, she was furious. That was a turning point in our relationship. Story 60. I caught COVID-19 on the plane flying home after visiting my parents over Christmas. I took a test a few days later because I couldn't smell or taste anything, and it was positive as soon as I put the first drop on the test strip. I made an order for a few things I needed from the store, requested a no-contact delivery, and locked myself in my apartment. That evening, my uncle called and insisted he drive up so he would be there if I needed anything. I told him I didn't think it was a good idea, and I knew if he caught COVID-19, I would never hear the end of it. He said he would get a hotel, drop off what I needed, and stay in his room until I needed something. He is not the kind of person who can stay in a hotel for more than an hour. I knew if he came, I would have about a day until he started insisting we go out. I said no again but thanked him and told him we would make plans when I was feeling better. He told everyone how I wouldn't let him visit, leaving out that I was sick, and told my aunts he was going to come without telling me first. 2 weeks later, while I was still sick, he sent me a text telling me what a bitch I am. He kept trying to pick a fight and got madder each time I didn't take the bait. We haven't spoken in over 2 years. Story 61. My maternal grandfather became very angry with me when I was a little child because I went to get a second glass of orange juice. The glasses in that house were small, by the way. Story 62. My mom recently passed away. When I ordered a flower arrangement for her urn, I had the card signed Love, myself and my 2 brothers. The night before her service, my oldest stepsister called and yelled at me for not including her and her sisters on the card, as my mom was her mom too. She was over 30 years old when our parents married. She threatened to get up during the eulogy portion of the service to tell people that although my mom was inclusive, my brothers and I were not. I told her we were not having a sharing portion in the service due to time constraints at the church. There were over 200 expected, and the pastor was concerned that opening up a sharing time could cause the service to run long. My brothers and I agreed to do that at the luncheon. She then got mad that I didn't include her in the planning. I told her that was my brother's choice, but her tone on this call was probably why. Story 63. I had a friend fall out with me, and the only reason I could figure out was because I was shy and quiet. Now that I think about it, it might be because we had made out a few times, but I was too shy to have sex with her, and maybe that upset her. One night, while she was a guest in my flat, she got really annoyed and started punching walls and screaming at me. Eventually, she got over whatever it was, and we were briefly friends again before the friendship faded away. Story 64. Driving down the highway, a man pulled up beside me and started screaming and waving his hands like a toddler having a temper tantrum because he decided at the last second that he wanted to be in the exit lane, but I was already in the exit lane. Apparently, when he decided he wanted to be in my lane, I was supposed to pull off the road, turn off my car, and beg his forgiveness. Story 65. A man cut me off with an electric scooter. I called him a dumb person, which made him turn around and go after me on the sidewalk, screaming, "I will hurt you, I will hurt you," and trying to spit in my face. Fortunately, there were cameras and I reported the incident to the police. Story 66. Their card declined. How do you go shopping and not know your balance? And why are you mad at me for being broke? It is not like I yelled it. I actually made a point of saying, "Sorry, your method of payment did not go through. Can you try again?" Instead of "your card declined." Story 67. I have a coworker who is a holier-than-thou, spiritual type of person. He likes to preach about living modestly, eating only the basics to survive, not for enjoyment or indulgence. I am the exact opposite. I refuse to follow any religious or spiritual rules. I live to enjoy life, and that includes eating. For context, I am about 175 centimeters tall and weigh 80 kilograms. Average-sized and obviously not a glutton. One day, I told him I have maybe 70 years on this planet. I am going to make the most of that time. Even if your God or spiritual figure came down to tell me not to eat, I am not going to listen because nobody has power over me. Besides, if eating is such a bad thing, then why didn't your God or spiritual figure make us robots who didn't need to consume anything? That rendered him silent and got him thinking for a bit. Now, whenever he is in the office, I make a habit of buying food and snacks to eat in front of him, just to annoy him. That is the other part about me. When people impose their beliefs, I do the exact opposite. Story 68. For being body positive, they got right in my face screaming that I must be some sort of predatory sexual pest who preys on low self-esteem if I am okay dating plus-sized people. Story 69. I was at a party once, and this man was drinking his 8th beer. I jokingly told him that he could not drink, and he became very angry. Unfortunately, he died last year by suicide. Story 70. Happens all the time on Reddit. A question gets asked that is controversial, such as, why do guys think girls are bipolar? I give an answer from the point of view of a guy, and women get mad and downvote. Story 71. Telling them who I voted for after they asked me. I don't care about sharing who I voted for, but will not hear because both sides are equally terrible about condemning the other side. Maybe instead of that, we can all just exercise understanding and realize that the media has done its job in dividing and lying to everyone, so most likely your sources are unreliable. Story 72. My friend and I were in charge of bringing sandwiches to a church group gathering, and we didn't think it was fair, so we made them with relish and no-name dog food. Most people took a couple of bites and didn't finish them, but there was a family that came from Africa and ate them like they were going out of style. I told some coworkers years later what I did, and they said I was a jerk. Can you believe it? Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.